Hey, everybody. How are you? It's Thursday. It's 1 o'clock. And
Yes,
this
it
is what?
is. Opposite Saxes.
Yeah,
We just got here on
it's
time because we've been busy.
we have been busy. In fact, we do record our shows in advance, and we try to record them well in advance. And we're kind of pushing the deadline
That's
because
why the t-shirt.
and although it's starting to get cool out, we're gonna have to start dressing them more appropriately for our show and for the house. for that matter.
Well, it is fall time.
Well, yeah, it is fall time. You're absolutely right. And because it's fall time, then we really need to do is we need to keep in mind No Sweat Experts,
Yep.
who's a sponsor of our show. And because it's getting warmer out there, you got to make sure that heating system is working. You don't have to worry about the air conditioner crapping out on you, but now you got to make sure that the heat comes.
Well, unless
when
you
it
have
gets
hot
cool.
flashes.
Well, I guess if you got hot flashes, but
You
if
never
you
know.
don't have hot flashes, you just want to make sure it's warm and toasty in your house without starting the fireplace. You need to call the guys over at No Sweat Experts. They can take care of everything in your heating and air conditioning system. And right now is probably the best time to reach out to them and have that, maintenance
Before the holidays.
done. Yeah, absolutely.
Too. Yeah.
Before everybody comes for Thanksgiving.
Right. And Christmas.
You don't
New
want them
Year's.
sitting around the table in their coats.
We're sitting around the fireplace.
But yeah, maybe while they're watching football, that
Yeah,
might be something amazing. Well, we have been troubled, as I'm sure that most of you watching and listening to the show have been over the last few weeks because of the unrest in the Middle East. It's disheartening to see that every so many years there's another uprising, if you will, of one people against another. And we even have a little bit of trouble trying to understand both sides of the situation. The one thing that I am learning in discussions with other people too is that we may be mistakenly thinking that this is a Palestinian issue, and it is not. It is a terrorist cell issue that started this whole thing. And Israel now is trying to retaliate for the attack on its people in its homeland. The Palestinians want to find a solution. The Israelis want to find a solution so that they can have their own countries to raise their children, raise their economies, and live in harmony. And this is not an Israeli Palestinian issue. This is worldwide. In Africa, there are the same kind of issues going on. In Asia, there are some of the same issues going on where people can't get along and do this. I have a hard time really kind of understanding if this will all end.
You would think after all of these years and everybody else's problems and what they've gone through, that we would all learn something.
Yeah.
And we keep going back.
Well, we
thing.
seem to learn for a while, but
And then you get complacent. And then
in a discussion, I said, when you go back to the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, back to my era, the Vietnam era, these wars were politically motivated. It was over politics. It was over communism. It was over idealism. It was, today it all seems to be being fought under a religious, a curtain, if you will. That's the background. And when you have religions that hate each other, they don't really care if it takes 1,000 years. One is going to try and overtake the other.
I don't understand how people can have so much hate for other people.
Yeah.
I guess I'm naive that way. Or I'm an idealist. I just think everybody should be able to get along. If you have to stay on your side, you stay on your side, and the other one will stay on their side. But
this is still a pretty big globe. And in any of these areas, if you sit down and negotiate, it seems to me that you can find a common denominator where you can say, okay, let's put this border right here and all, and you guys take this part of the country and you develop it, and we'll take this part of it in the country. Look, the same thing's going on in Russia.
Mhm.
You know, decades ago, Ukraine became its own sovereign nation, and it grew to be one of the most advanced agriculturally countries in the entire world.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, because of some dissensions and everything, Russia picks a fight with Ukraine, drops bombs, destroys the whole country and the infrastructure. And when this is all over, you know, if it is a successful defense by Ukraine and a peace accord is finally signed, what is Ukraine going to be left with? This bombed out
Right.
country that they're going to
They have
have
to
to
rebuild.
start from 40 or 50 years ago to rebuild. And they will. Every country that's been attacked has done that. But
So is it maybe, well, in some instances, I agree with you. It's a religious thing, political, but is it also a mental thing? I mean, who decides that we should take over a country?
well,
Who, I mean, is
that's why all of
although
these
it's autocracy
all of
and
these splinter groups, they don't like the way the government is being run, and so they decide that they're going to have a coup and they want to overthrow the government, which happens a lot in Africa.
so my feeling is go to another place and start your own country or your own government.
Well, and in
I
most
mean,
of
if
these,
most of the people want what they have, then you go leave and you create your own.
and believe me, if a small country, you know, faction of a country says, just give us a piece of land for us to develop, and we'll live in harmony, and we'll share our crops with each other even. But if we have differences in ideology, we have differences in religious beliefs and everything, we can address those. There is such a thing right in the middle of Israel. It is a yeshiva. It is a what's the other word for it? We would call it here in the United States a commune. Uh, it is a community called Niv Shalom Wahat Al Salam, and in Hebrew and in Arabic it means an oasis of peace. And this is a community of Israelis and Palestinians that live together. They worship separately, but they live together. They work together. They raise their children together in a communal village that was started many years ago. And it is right in the middle of Israel, located between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And with all of the nonsense that's going on all around them, these people have said, we are going to live in peace.
And they do. They have.
They have, and they are a beaming light to the rest of the world to say, this is how it can be done. If you sit down and you understand each other, and you say we can work it out, instead of picking up arms and saying this is how we're going to solve the problem. I want to give a real big shout out to a good friend, Pastor Billy Eccles Richter, who is the pastor here in Frisco at the Grace Avenue United Methodist Church. He started doing some podcasts called Faith Handles. Google it sometime and drop in, and he talks about several subjects relating to faith and how we follow faith. But he just did an episode about the history of Israel and Palestine, and he is the one that told us about this oasis of peace. I never knew about this. I never knew it existed, but because he is a student of history, And he so beautifully told the story of Niv Shalom Mahad al Salam. And
Well, he stated very well the background of the Palestinians and the Israelis, and it was riveting for me. It was a real eye opener for me.
Yeah, and I mean, because I am not so steeped in history knowledge as he is, but it was a beautiful episode, and again, I encourage you to check it out. But to learn that even today, with all this that's going on all around us, that there are, and it was basically started by young people that said, we don't want to go this way. We don't want to go the way the rest of the world thinks we should go. We want to form our own community and work together and understand each other and help raise other's children. And they've done an absolutely outstanding job. Another case in point is our good friend, and his name just escaped me, and all from the south side of Chicago, that started My Block, My Hood, My City.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did was he took a troubled South Side neighborhood and he rallied the children, within and outside of the Boys and Girls Club. And he said to these kids, there is an whole world that exists beyond the South Side of Chicago. And I would like to take you in as a group, in small groups, and take you to downtown Chicago, go to the top of the John Hancock building and let you see the rest of Chicago, because all they have really ever seen was their own
the few
dark
blocks
neighborhoods
around where they live. Yeah.
And he has grown this into a tremendous organization. Jamal Cole is his name. And Jamal, we couldn't applaud you more for wanting to get these young people of various backgrounds and family dynamics together. They go out, they help seniors shovel their snow in the wintertime, help them with their yard work, help them with trash pickup. They go to the parks and they clean them up and all, as a group of kids, while there are gangs in the same neighborhoods that exist. But he is saying there is an alternative way, and we need to find that.
I think Jamal's got a big fight in front of him. He's got the city could be at times against him, the neighbors, the gangs. Some of the families might be not so sure they want their kids involved with it. But I applaud him.
Yeah, he has stood up in front of a microphone and said to the media, just because it's an uphill battle doesn't mean that I'm going to throw in the white flag and say, to hell with it. It's just not going to work. He continues to make it work. And just like this group in Israel, they will make it work. It may be within their own little community, but they're making a difference.
They're making it work because they do work together as units. They celebrate each other's holidays, all of them, all of the holidays. The Jewish people go with the Palestinians and the Palestinians go with the Jewish people, or they have their separate celebrations. They don't interfere either way. They all get along. They all get along in school.
Right.
They go to school together.
And the Israelis share their culture with the Palestinians and vice versa. And as I said earlier, the Israelis will celebrate their Shabbat on Friday and Friday night, and Saturday. And the Palestinians, basically, most of them are Muslims, and they have prayer every day, 5 times a day. And they respect each other's religions, they respect each other's lifestyles, and they share those same religious beliefs and lifestyles.
Since we've saw Pastor Billy's podcast, I have seen snippets of pieces of news that have focused on this oasis of peace community, and with pictures, the kids walking hand in hand.
Yeah.
And all getting along, all playing together, very close. And I don't understand why we haven't seen more of something like this.
It's
I
like
mean,
one of
they
the
need to
world's
s-
best kept
Yeah,
secrets.
it truly
you
is.
know?
I think they need to highlight it and spotlight it much
These
more.
terrorist organizations will always be terrorist organizations, and they will say that it's their way or the highway. And those terrorist organizations must be defeated and eliminated. But when you eliminate one, another one is going to spring up. And while there are some who believe that peace is inevitable is a pretty tough word. I think more that it might be attainable eventually. Inevitable, I don't know, because inevitable kind of says, well, I'm not going to get involved, but inevitably we'll have peace. No, everybody's got to work at it. You've got to work at it in your neighborhood. You've got to work at it in your communities, your cities, your state, your country, and you've got to band together and say enough is enough. Let's get along, because the alternative is so
It's not
sad
good,
and
not good.
so dangerous.
Well, we hope you understand. We don't usually like to bring in anything sad, anything, I don't want to say politically challenged.
Serious.
That's right.
True.
But this Oasis of Peace community just touched our hearts, and we wanted to bring it to your attention that there is some hope, and there's a glimmer of light there, and hopefully we can get to the place where everyone can live in peace.
Yeah. Check it out. And then please come back next Thursday at 1 o'clock and check us out. And no doubt we'll have a little lighter subject to talk about next time. Okay. Go out and make
Bye.
it a good one. Bye.